more amenities. Amenities isn't
That's
even
right
the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I guess they had like better amenities than United. United is just like it's cattle service. You know, move them on, move them off. There's no TVs, there's no entertainment, there's no nothing. On American, if you connected, American also had Wi-Fi, and if you connected to the Wi-Fi on the plane, you could watch movies and TV for free through their Wi-Fi. And so I got to watch a couple movies that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to watch, and I was like, this is a definitely much different experience than watching it. I mean, flying United. Although typically United is always cheaper, and so it's cost.
I think I'm ready when you guys are.
Let me edit the name of this real
Let
quick.
me. I'll be right back. 2 seconds.
229.
231.
Crap.
Unless you're messing with me and
No, I just wasn't paying attention.
I'm not picking up on the
Nope.
context.
Nope, I am not stupid. Yes.
That's not what I was suggesting. Ah, sweet. Tinkering Rocks is caught up now. Cool.
Yay.
You listen to our spoiler cast in real time. Yeah, the page looks really good. Good job with that, Les.
Oh, thanks.
It looks official.
I guess the minifigure collection doesn't really make sense when there's no Lego references.
No, but I like the picture format.
Yeah.
So maybe just using that as a constant template.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, on a side note, the site should be working well. I know I have to fix the contact page, but everything else should be updating and working. I finally got the DNS set right.
Sweet.
Or actually, you have the DNS set.
No, well,
I had to give you the server info.
So I'm not taking up video card. And with. Please don't play with that yet. I'm not done with it. I just put primer on it. It needs to dry before I paint it gold. It'll be done by tomorrow. Well, it needs to cure. It's called curing. It needs to dry completely before I put gold on it. Come here. Come look at this. Click. See?
Wow.
That goes on the bottom, just like that. Well, I got it glued to the bottom. Here.
Looking good.
Yep.
Is this gonna glow in the dark?
Yes. Well, that piece and the what's the guard? Is that what it's called? The top of the sword that protects the hands? The guard?
Yeah, the guard. Bottom's the pommel.
So the pommel, that, and the guard are going to glow in the dark. And the rest of it is going to be gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you. That's your face. We just started streaming, so we're not recording yet. Can you go put that back, please? Actually, why don't I just hold on to it? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'll go get the other piece.
Don't get the other piece. I still got to work on them. I love your face. For me to record.
You,
Well, we're straight. This is YouTube. You're live on YouTube right now. See, everybody in the chat can see Ethan. Right? No, leave it here. Okay, go put it away. Thank you. All right. I'm ready.
Trade one for the other.
I know. Oh, everybody, hi. You're on YouTube right now.
oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. That's what we do every week.
So, like, okay, now I just,
Now you're all nervous?
yes.
Okay, give me hugs. I love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Now I'm ready.
All right.
Hold on. Now I'm ready. Okay. It's official. We're good.
So for anybody that sees it the pre-show, this is what it means to be a podcast with, having families for the makers and for the geeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're seasoned
That's it?
professionals here. Yeah.
Yep. What's up, Internet? You're listening to the Making Geeks podcast, a podcast for makers, families, and geeks. You're also listening to one of the oldest maker podcasts on the Internet now. So we also have that little tagline to go with our show as well.
I'm not that old.
One of the older ones at this point, right? It's been 5 years.
I think you need to look in a thesaurus for a better word than old.
Longest running.
Longest running. There we
Right,
go.
there we
Yeah,
go.
we're gonna change that adjective. Just
I like that.
ignore the gray on the screen.
Yes.
If you're watching this in video format.
Heritage.
Legacy.
What other words could we use? Legacy. Legacy podcast.
We just have to adjust the contrast in the video, and it'll help even it out. Hopefully,
Veteran podcast.
veteran podcast. I'm not sure that's better sometimes.
No, probably not.
So, guys, how's it been?
Been good.
What you been up to this week?
I ordered some new stuff. I think I mentioned it last week. Yeah. I got my Glowforge already.
Everybody is commenting about how fast you got it, because everybody else that got theirs within, I don't know, maybe the last year. It was a pretty long wait time.
Yeah. Yeah, the estimated for so I got the plus version. It said 10 days when I ordered it, but I think it went down even since that. I don't even think it was 10 days.
The Plus is like this weird in-between model,
Yeah.
and I think maybe that's why.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Do you remember where they ship out of?
It said Washington.
Washington. Okay.
Yeah.
So it did cover a little bit of distance to get to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a gigantic box. It barely fits through doorways horizontally. Like the depth of
Yeah.
it it just clears the doorway.
I have double doors by my front door, so luckily I was able to open both of them and bring it in. So I didn't have to turn it on end, which you're technically not supposed to do because of the water and the tube and stuff. Yeah, I get it. Are you excited?
Like the box or like the machine?
I haven't taken it
Machine's
out
in
of the
the
box.
box.
yet.
Horizontally. Okay.
Yeah.
So they want you to take the machine out of the box outside and able to fit it through the door. You said it won't fit through a door horizontally, or
It barely
almost
fits
doesn't?
through the
Oh,
door.
barely. Okay, so it still does.
It does.
but just barely.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I took a picture. It's
That
on my
makes
Instagram. If you swipe through, you'll see like how much clearance I had on each side of the door frame. Not much.
It's a awkward box to work with.
Yeah,
Because
there weren't any handles on mine.
Really?
Yeah, which I was surprised. There's no handles.
There should have been. There's plastic handholds you unlock and then pull out.
I'll have to double check,
mo-
but I didn't see any.
double check it. It'd be weird if they weren't there. The entire thing is really awkward to unbox to begin with because you have this thing that weighs, I don't know, is it like 70 pounds or something? It's really heavy, and then having to take it out of the box and then lift it up onto a surface. I guess you can unbox a different way too, but it's awkward no matter what.
Were the handholds on the shorter end or the longer end? Do you remember?
Should be the longer end, I believe.
I could have missed it. It's possible.
I just unboxed it
Got
this week too.
sold out now.
Sorry,
aren't I?
I'm looking again, and there are no handholds on it.
Okay.
I don't know.
So
I had a weird
Donovan is not only the odd one out with no beard, he's also the odd one out with no Glowforge.
Wow.
Yeah, what's up with that?
See, but now I'm in a conundrum because if I ever do get a Glowforge, whose code do I use?
Mine. Wes kind of owes me that one.
It's true. How about for one of my videos, I'll put your code in instead of mine? How about that?
Oh, that's not necessary. No, you use your code for that. Yeah. Just the next person in our group or our larger maker group would be kind of nice to kind of pay it forward that way. Maybe kind of like rotate the referral code around for the new person, whoever gets it within the group. That'd be kind of cool. So Donovan, what have you been up to?
Everything all at once. It's been a really busy week. I've kind of gotten up to date with all of my schoolwork, and so I've had time to be able to work in the shop. All of my kids are in school now, so 3 days a week for 5 hours, I have time to work on stuff, which is I've never really had that before, ever, and so it's been kind of a really great experience, being able to spend time in the shop consistently, get stuff done. I'm working on a Lego Ninjago project because I desperately need the views on my channel, and so I'm making the Sword of Sanctuary. I don't know if anybody in this podcast viewing audience, listening audience, whatever, knows anything about Lego Ninjago, but if you do, I'm making the Sword of Sanctuary, which kind of glows in the show. And so what I wanted to do is kind of like my axe video that I just did, and also like my Zelda table that I did. I wanted to do glow in the dark epoxy with some of the pieces. And so I modeled the sword out in Fusion 360 and then broke it into its each individual elements. And then I 3D printed the pommel and the guard. And you can, like, for people that are watching, you can see the pommel. So I 3D printed pieces. And then I went and got some Illuminite silicone mold stuff. And then I molded, right? I'm using the right words. I molded the 3D printed piece in the silicone. And now I am casting glow in the dark pieces for this sword, which if you can see on the video feed, if you're watching the YouTube video, this thing is glowing even though I've got lights on it. It is so cool. I am in love with glow in the dark epoxy right now. So I've got that project that I'm finishing up tomorrow. The video for it will be out on Sunday. I'm also working on a Asian inspired accent wall in my garage, and then trying to figure out what future projects to work on. So everything and all at once.
It's cool.
What about you, Sean?
This last week I've been trying to get things in order with my website. So I decided to consolidate some things. For years I've been managing like 3 or 4 different sites. I've had like 6 different domain names, and I'm starting to kind of pare down just because it's too much for me to manage at this point. So I'm trying to consolidate and hopefully put more time into fewer things and get better results. And in doing that, I finally took the plunge and signed a year contract with Squarespace for my site. With consolidating all my stuff, it is still a little bit more expensive to go with Squarespace, but I think that it's going to be better because of the built-in commerce and some of the website building tools I've already been using, and I think it's already a lot faster, and it is better. And I want to be in a better position to sell a lot more of the things that I'm making, just because I think it's a quicker return on a lot of things, and I don't have a really good method of doing that now. So I'm currently getting that into place. And I wish I could say this was sponsored, but it's not sponsored from Squarespace, even though they've sponsored everybody else at this point. But I've been using, I used to build websites from scratch at one point years and years ago. I've been using WordPress for the last, I don't know, 6 years, which works okay. But it is a lot easier to build a site in Squarespace at this point and not have to worry about the extra stuff. I still don't think it's perfect by any means, but I'm kind of at a point where I'm tired of having to toy with some of those things and just wanting it to work.
Yeah.
If I want to put time into something to learn something,
Yeah.
I want it to be something that I feel like I'm going to get a little bit more out of. I'm not doing web for a living anymore. I simply want it as a portal to sell a couple things and get some info out. So I think it's, what you need at a website a lot of times is a lot simpler than what you needed before, because social kind of helps carry a lot of the other burden of communication now. Hopefully at some point, maybe I'll have, actually, no, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, so that's what I'm up to.
Yeah, nowadays you can almost get away with just having a really, really nice landing page that directs you to wherever you want people to go.
Yeah, and in fact, I made a change like that for my profile on Instagram with something called Linktree, which I know a lot of people have already heard of. But that's essentially what it is. You click on that, and it's a landing page for either going to the website, YouTube, or other places. And I know that there's some services like Square, which is the little transaction device you put on like your iPhone or something.
Mm-hmm.
They offer a landing page web page, and my wife uses that for Jolly Makers, and I don't think she's had to touch it in like over a year, but it does exactly what it needs to do. Yeah, definitely different than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. WordPress is so like fiddly, especially when you need to try I need this one feature, and then you have to go hunt down this one plugin that's hasn't been updated for that version of WordPress, or if it has, you install it, and then the settings, there's no consistent location where to put settings, so they can be any number of places within the interface, and it's just, it's pretty frustrating. Yeah.
Because I know that you've been using it for a while, and I think our sites were vaguely similar. I think that yours was still put together a little bit better than mine. And even though I got pretty good at it, it was never quite right.
Yeah.
And I really did not want to put in the time to dig into the settings or even the code and look back in and do it.
Yeah, it's a pain.
Just 'cause it's changed so much since I used to do it by hand. And I don't want to go back to school just to kind of do the website on my own anymore. Time to move on and invest in what I want to work better, I guess. But we'll see if it works. I mean, I have a year. If I get what I need out of it, and it even somewhat pays for itself, and I'll continue. Otherwise, I'll go back to what I had before. That's what's going on.
Cool. Yeah, Squarespace is one of those that it's like the market is so saturated. Does anybody click on Squarespace links anymore?
Or like the ads, or is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the ads.
I had to look up for a referral code, just because I wanted to get that extra 10% off.
Yeah. Although lately it's like Keeps. I think Keeps is the new Squarespace. I haven't, surprisingly, I have not seen an Audible ad in quite a while.
It all goes in phases. I think that whatever marketing budget they set, they then send it out to, I don't know, 100 different makers or influencers, and they all do the ad at the same time. And I think it's their way of measuring the impact of the ad campaigns at that time. Talking about web again for a quick second, I was also looking at some other options other than Squarespace. In some ways, I really did not want to go with Squarespace just because, and they're not a completely cheap solution either. I was considering Wix, which you see advertised a lot, which they have a similar
WYSIWYG,
I guess, philosophy in terms of design.
Yeah.
They also have a lower cost option that does ads. but I decided, not to. There's also another one called Page Cloud that is supposed to be almost identical to Squarespace, except they were even more expensive. And I was even going to try to reach out to them because I haven't seen any marketing from them. Like, why not, try to capture some of the market that Squarespace almost has like a monopoly on. But I gave up and just went with what I already knew. So, yes, I sold out. Kind of feels that way to me a little bit.
That's all right. Those emotions that you're feeling and felt right up until you signed up for Squarespace, I was exactly the same way. I was holding out. I didn't want to do it. I'm like, everybody had, no, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to do it just because everybody else is doing it. I want to make sure that it's the right thing, the right tool for the job. Unfortunately, it's the right tool for the job. Especially, like, the biggest thing was the commerce. Trying to figure out, like, having a store and a site and all the other stuff that I wanted to.
So are you using Squarespace?
Uh-huh. I signed up
I didn't know that.
Too. Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't quite share that with us.
They're
you should have got a group discount.
No. It's funny because you're describing all these things. I was like, yeah, I get that. I totally understand that. I was right there with you.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, unfortunately, this is not a sponsored segment, and I still feel a little bit icky that I kind of sold out. But hopefully it pays off, and then I'll feel a little bit less icky. Money always helps with that feeling.
Right? Yeah, you wash it off with dollars.
Speaking of dollars and things doing well, I'm kind of excited about tonight's topic, especially because it did well at the box office. It made quite a bit of money, so I'm hoping that is a little bit of an impetus for people to go back to the theater, so we can stop having movies pushed back for the release date as well, which is a really horrible transition, but I tried. So
no, that was a great transition.
It was really convoluted, but I'm going to go with it. I'm really excited to talk about the movie tonight. And we're talking about Shang-Chi. We're going to be doing our spoiler cast of that. So if you have not seen the movie yet, you might want to hold off on listening to tonight's episode and listen to it at a later date. But if you have seen it or you don't really care about spoilers, then this is the right place to be.
Oh, yes.
I guess I'm going to start with just kind of like a big comment first. Donovan, you said that you actually posted about it. You think it's like one of Marvel's best movies?
Standalone movies?
Is that correct?
Well, the exact words that I used in the post were, I'm still like mulling it over, but I think that Shang-Chi is the best standalone film that Marvel has ever made.
You still feel that way?
And now that I've thought about it more, and I've deliberated on it somewhat, and have had conversations with people about it, yeah, I really think Shang-Chi is the best standalone film that they've ever made, ever. In
I'll say that
23 years.
I won't say it's the best, but I will say it's top 3. I think it's up there.
And that's okay. I know not everybody's going to agree with me. That's cool. That's fine.
It's actually not even about disagreement. It's just that saying something is unequivocally the best is really tough in any scenario.
Well, the best so far. It's like I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, I can understand that if it's not people's favorite. I generally would have what you might call a little bit of a bias because it is a Chinese story. And half of the movie is in Chinese, which I was like,
yeah, how'd you do with that?
Great.
Were you able to like?
I did not know that half the movie was going to be in Chinese. Like, I went into this movie not thinking it was going to be great, because we had just watched Black Widow. We're watching What If every week, and What If is a whole totally separate topic. But I'm becoming less and less impressed with What If. I kind of don't like him anymore. But yeah, I knew Wes was going to give me that face.
This week's I agreed with, but we'll save that. We'll save that for next time. Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Once the series is over, we could talk about all of it. But I've just been unimpressed, and so I went into Shang-Chi thinking that it was going to be very Black Widow-ish, and just going to be like formulaic Marvel movie, money grab, like just sky beams and just shirtless people, whatever. Your typical Marvel movie, which it kind of was. It hit all the points of a Marvel movie, It had the CGI fight. It had the sky, like all the things you would expect in a Marvel film. It had it. But that said, the writing and the character development in this movie were so well done that I was surprised. I was surprised that I liked the movie. And by the end of the movie, I'm like, I really like this movie. This is why can't all of them be like this? This is great. So, I loved it. I did. I think it's their best yet.
By the way, Sky Beams and Shirtless People is now the name of the episode.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm really curious, Wes, about your take on it.
I quite liked it as well. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it was my favorite one. Although I don't really have a lot of nitpicks, to be honest. The pacing was really good. They did stick to a lot of some of the formula, but they also broke some of the formula too. In that, like, when they introduce, the female counterpart to the main actor, usually they'll shoehorn in like a romance angle, which they didn't. They kept it platonic, and which is great. I'm not to say they'll keep it that way. I'd be surprised if they did throughout the run of the character, but to leave that out completely was a great idea. I liked how they leaned harder into the family stuff than they ever really have before. Like pretty much all the Marvel heroes have daddy issues. I mean, really, when you come to think about it, like pretty much every hero in the MCU has parent problems. I mean, just in general, Disney movies in general.
Yeah, it's Disney movies.
Yeah, but I mean, the characters were cool. They had when they mentioned the Mandarin that was in Iron Man 3, I had a big smile on my face because I actually really liked that movie. Regardless of how much flack it gets, it's one of my favorite Iron Man movies. Just because it had like a lot of unexpected elements. And they also kind of broke the mold in a way for a lot of the stuff. Like they had the hero prove that he's a hero without all of his tech, which was great. They showed like lots of trauma and like character development for Tony, like having to like see his reaction to all the events of the first Avengers movie and stuff. Like they got pretty dark with that stuff. You got to be
We
resourceful.
talked about that recently.
Yeah, you got to be resourceful. And then like the kid was a great addition. And then the actual reveal that the Mandarin wasn't the Mandarin, it was Trevor, pissed a lot of people off, which I thought was hilarious because it was like a giant like middle finger to all the comic book readers who are like so overly invested in the media that they can't dare have any like deviation from the original source material, which you can't keep it the same. That's boring, right? So I actually like that character. Every time they mention him or have him show up in like a cameo in like one of the one shots or whatever they called them back a couple years ago on the Marvel discs. I love that character. And then have him show up in this one. As soon as I saw the back of him, when they went into that, area and I saw the back of the character, I was just like, I had my hands up. I'm like, yes, like this is going to be great. And he was like awesome. Like every time he was on screen saying something, I was just loving it. And then like there's so many good little moments. Like the comedy was really good. Like the one actor, the comedian who was also in was it Spider-Man? Was it in Far From Home? Or Homecoming, I think. I can't remember which one it was. Where he's like, do a backflip, Spider-Man, and he like does a backflip. He's like, yeah. He was like a little like a hot dog stand vendor or something like that. Like the same actor was in the bus, and he did like the shot by shot like fight breakdown like live stream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the
I
same
did not
actor.
know.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so he's like trying to like jokingly angle for like his own like Disney Plus spinoff or something. It's pretty funny. But yeah, like I thought that was hilarious. Some of the, giant mass, CG battle of like thousands of critters, like that's been done so many times. Like I'm kind of over that shtick. That was a little meh to me, but like the little faceless creature, that was also pretty cool. running around. There's like a lot of interesting like elements in that movie that I didn't expect. And
Where's his head? Don't say anything. He's sensitive about that.
it's right.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, and he's like,
Because usually they go for cute. That thing
Oh, yeah.
was not cute.
it was a little disturbing. It was definitely fuzzy and like had cute sounds, but yeah, it was a little weird. And then Trevor's like
Selling
laying.
stuffed animals of it at Target, so there's enough people that think it's cute enough to
Are
buy.
you serious?
Yeah, it's there.
Oh no!
It looks like this.
I'm sorry.
It looks like this weird creature that has two butts.
Yeah.
Because both ends kind of look the same.
Yeah, it's like cat dog, but they use the wrong side. They use the wrong ends for cat dog,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
just two animal asses sewn together. But I thought it was really cool. I liked it. I would go see it again, for sure.
I saw it in IMAX, and talking about the CG, the shtick of the big CG fights, yeah, it's old, it's tiring, and it's funny because if you if you pay close enough attention towards the end of the movie when he's fighting with the bow, when Shang-Chi is fighting with the bow, they don't even replace the face of the stunt actor with his face.
What?
And so it's like, oh, that's the stunt actor. Oh, that's Shang-Chi.
Really?
Oh, that's the stunt actor. Oh yeah, it was very apparent in at least watching it on the big screen like I did. I was like, wow, they didn't even try to replace the stunt actor with his face, because usually they'll like transpose it, and they did it on a couple shots, but it's almost like they gave up like towards the end of the battle, and it was just like, that's not the same guy. Like his build, his physique, totally different. The face, totally different. And I was like, I wonder if anybody else is gonna know this, or if this is just me, like, not nitpicking, but like spotting something in a movie that most people otherwise wouldn't pay attention to.
Sure.
We were all distracted by the sky beams.
His sky beams.
And Wong, I love Wong showing up again, like having the abomination thing. Like, what's that about? I want to learn more about like their relationship. Like, that's kind of interesting. And then to have the end thing where the guy what's up?
Was that supposed to be Abomination?
Yeah, it's
It
abomination.
was
Really?
Abomination.
Yeah.
A fish version of Abomination?
Maybe he's like continually evolving.
'Cause
I'm
he
not
had
sure. He looked
gills.
like he had gills. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could
So
see
that
how
was
people
supposed
would
to be
not
Abomination?
notice that it was abomination because
Yeah.
they didn't. Did they say his name in the thing when they were like
I don't remember.
introducing
I
the
don't think
people
so.
fighting or something? I don't remember if they
It
did.
was
but
shown in one of the
in the trailers. Yeah,
and it seems like there's only one character that really looks like
Sure.
that, and to have another character that looks similar but having it not be Abomination would be really kind of weird.
he's supposed to be back in the She-Hulk series too. So
Yeah.
with Tim Roth, is that his name? Yeah, Tim Roth.
Yep.
He's supposed to be back in it too.
Really?
Yeah, so it was cool. I like the little end scene, not the end credit scene, but the one where they're just like back talking to their buddies, and they're just like, "What the heck are you guys talking about?" And then have Wong show up. It was great.
I've mentioned on the show before, I didn't really grow up reading comics much, so I've heard a lot of names of characters, but I don't know a whole lot about them. I don't know any storylines, even from whether it was Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, any of those I've never read. So everything seems new to me. But I had heard that Shang-Chi didn't really have much of a storyline even in the comics, or was a little bit lesser known and didn't wasn't paid attention to as much. But the things that were written were, by some people's point of view, maybe offensive because of certain racial stereotypes of when the comic was first came out. So it's kind of nice that Marvel's able to take characters that are lesser known and transform them and make them fit into a universe like this. I know that some people really kind of want to treat some of the characters in like a kind of a sacred way. And I like that we have this mix of things that seem a little bit newer and fresh. And I know that's essentially what they did with the Guardians of the Galaxy too. And it worked out. It's probably one of the best franchises.
Yeah,
And so maybe the idea of having a character that is a little bit lesser known and maybe a little bit untethered is really why we're able to get these better storylines. I'm wondering if when like Miss Marvel comes out, if we're going to see something similar. Although that's a newer character, I know it might be more established. I don't know. I I already said before that I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the best that they've put out. And in a lot of ways, if it wasn't for the Trevor the Mandarin connection later on, it almost didn't even have to be a Marvel movie. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was just a pretty good standalone martial arts movie.
Yeah.
And the action in it, I thought, was phenomenal.
Yeah, the one sequence where they're
yeah.
outside the building, like on the scaffolding, was really cool. I like that one a lot.
I mean, I saw a lot of influences, and it's kind of hard to get away from it. The fight outside the building reminded me of, I forget which movie it was, but it was a Jackie Chan movie where
The stunt coordinator, I believe it said, or the guy they referenced that died. He gave him. They
he
gave him
was
like a
on
shout
Jackie
out.
Chan's stunt team at one time, I think.
He was the coordinator for this movie, and he worked with Jackie Chan. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
his name.
so I
And
mean,
that's why the similarities. It looked like he should just like grab a refrigerator door and slam somebody with it, like interacting with the environment, like his total
yeah.
Jackie Chan.
And then when I first saw the trailer for the movie, and I saw the brief snippet of the bus scene, I'm like, oh, that looks cool. But when I saw it in the actual film, I'm like, oh wait, this scene is incredible and it's awesome. And
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but it seemed new and fresh for fighting in a tight environment like that. Something
Yeah.
just seemed different about it.
yeah,
It didn't seem entirely cliche, which I appreciated. I think that really helped set the tone for the rest of the movie too.
yeah.
It was a great martial arts film. I don't know if you guys have watched. You probably haven't watched a lot of Chinese movies, and I don't blame anybody, but the production value of some of the movies they have over there is phenomenal, and it's interesting looking at the differences between how we make movies and how we over here versus how they make movies over there. And like when I came into this and they started speaking Chinese, I'm like, I wonder if this was a Chinese crew that made this movie. And when they did the bus scene, I'm like, nope, it's an American crew. Because in America, we really like the shaky cam jump cut in our action film, which doesn't work with martial arts because when you have people that are like artists in martial arts that are so good at their craft, like you have long locked off shots where they can show off the choreography and show off like their skill. And here in America, like doing the jump cut, the shaky can jump cuts like we do, you don't have a chance to show off the skill and the choreography of the martial artists. Now,
you know why there's a difference, right? It's because
why there's a difference?
American audiences tend to be a little bit more impatient.
Yeah,
No,
ADD.
no,
and
I
lose
understand.
interest. No, but I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm getting at is the cuts has to do with the attention span of most American audiences.
Yeah. And it's like I wanted longer held shots in this movie. Like they did a good job at holding shots longer than most American action films. Because in most American action films, it's literally like a new shot every 2 seconds, especially when there's like action going on. And but in Chinese movies and Asian movies, they'll lock off the shot for like 2 minutes and just have the choreography, like all that kind of stuff is fantastic. And so I liked that they had longer held shots in Shang-Chi than you would typically find in like an American movie. But that being said, there were still, especially towards the end when the dragon comes into play, there was sequences that I'm like, that you can't even tell what's going on. This is a Transformers movie now.
It's funny you just brought that up. I was just
It's
about to
just
bring that up
moving
as my
pieces.
nitpick. Is I was going to actually bring up Transformers, like saying it's just you don't know what's fighting what. You just see a bunch of like metal slashed around. Yeah, I felt that same thing when the two creatures were battling, and it was just too close, and you couldn't get a good perspective of what was happening. And it's funny that you brought up your example because I was going to bring it the exact same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
the
it's
last
applicable.
sequence is problematic for a lot of those reasons. You know, this beautiful martial arts movie for the first 3/4 of the movie, and the last climax scene is a CG fest. And you know,
It's a Marvel movie.
it is. And I know there's some expectation there because you want big battle, climactic, which I can't entirely fault. But the character design was a little bit strange. All of a sudden we're thrust in this magical world that we heard about, but it looks like Pokemon Run Wild with the different characters. My But aside from that, my big complaint has to do with the way what happens in a lot of movies is that I really wanted to see an epic battle with the Death Dealer and somebody at the end, and they just kind of cheesed him off with the way they killed him with one of those creatures.
Yeah, I didn't have much of a sequence or much of a thread for that character. You just saw him teaching.
You're talking about the mask,
white mask?
Ibuki mask.
the Oni mask guy,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Ibuki mask guy. Yeah.
I mean, it is a beautiful fight scene near the beginning of the film with the like kind of like the silhouette, on the high rise building with the neon lights behind him,
Yeah,
which is great. But then I still wanted another payoff at the end,
right. Yeah.
with whoever. I didn't even care who was fighting him. I just wanted to see that kind of finished in some sense. And nope, sea creature ate him or whatever it was.
It is funny. If you've ever watched like a lot of Asian movies or Chinese movies, there's always one big muscle-bound white guy. It's like your token white guy in an Asian movie. And it's so funny that in this movie, in this in this fully oriental cast, there's the one big muscle-bound white guy. Your token. I was like, oh my gosh, they totally did the Asian thing and had the big muscly guy be one of the bad guys.
I thought he was a cool
Nobody
character,
else is
too.
gonna pick up on that. But I was just like, this is funny.
Yeah, he was
This
the
is
Chuck.
fun.
Actually,
He was the Chuck
I think
Norris.
everybody-
Yeah,
I think everybody did pick up on it, but maybe just not consciously. I think subconsciously it was there.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't
Because it was
know
the odd one
that
out.
stereotype
Sure.
Unless you watch a lot of Asian movies or if you've watched Chinese movies before. It's funny. I was like, oh, they've totally made this for Asians to enjoy too, not just us as white Americans. It's something that other cultures can enjoy too, because it plays into stereotypes and like expectations and movies that they have in their own cultures that we don't have here. But you merge those two things together. I thought it was very well done, and I loved that half the movie was in Chinese. The translations were almost perfect. There were a couple that I'm like, well, that's not exactly what they said. But other than that, the Chinese was fantastic. Translations were good. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I want to go back and see it again. And it's funny because when I went to go see it, did I tell you guys this about my experience going to see it? No. Okay, so
Oh, what you posted about it, that you were like the only person in the building, right?
I was the only person. We have one of those multiplex. It's called the Warren Theater, and it's one of those huge ones that has the IMAX in the middle, and then they have 20 different theaters, like 10 off on one wing, 10 off in another wing. Massive building, massive screens. They have like a premiere balcony. Very nice building. Amazing experience to go to if you like spending a lot of money to go watch a movie. But it's always one of those venues that's always packed. There's always a bunch of people. There's always lines to everything. And when I went there was only 2 cars in the parking lot, and one of them was a service car. And I was like, oh crap. Like, with everything going on, I don't know if things are open, if they're closed, whatnot. And so I was like, well, I'll just call them. Well, I called them, nobody picked up. And I'm like, great. Like, I finally have an opportunity to go see this movie. Like, my kids are taken care of. Like, there's a chance. Like, I'm not going to get this chance for a while. And I want to talk about it on the podcast. So I walk in the door, and the door is open. And I walk in, and there's nobody. There's nobody at the front desk. There's nobody in the diner. Like, nothing. And it's like, in horror movies, where you have that lone person that like flips the light switch on in the arcade or like wherever they're at, the train station, and the old timey music starts playing, but it's all echoey because nobody's there. And it seems like it should be really upbeat because of the type of music that's playing, but it's really ominous because it's totally empty. It was exactly like that. Like, I was like, I'm in a horror movie right now. Like, something's going to jump out and eat my face. I could totally expect that right now because it's like 1920s Art Deco, so they have like the old movie theater soundtracks going on, and it's bouncing off all the walls because nothing's in there. And so I'm walking around trying to find somebody, and there's this one girl that's like at concessions, like at the very end, and it's like, "Are you on?" She's like, "Yeah." And so I go and I buy my ticket, and I'm like, "Is this normal?" She's like, "No, it's not normal. I had the entire building to myself." Like, they were still playing movies, so you could hear like the little sounds and everything of the movies.
Did
and
you
the,
run around from theater to theater?
I
would have
should.
theater
Well,
hopped.
I did. Like after the movie, because I come out and there's two guys like off in the corner, so I'm like bouncing. Oh, I'll go in here and see what this is. Go in here and see what this is. And then it just got too weird. I was like, man, I feel bad because I want movies to come back because the experience of seeing this in IMAX in the theaters was fantastic. Like I love movies and I love being able to go and being immersed in the experience of watching a movie that you just can't have watching it on your phone or your TV or whatever. And I'm so glad I watched this in the theater and not like streamed it. But I'm so worried that that this business, this huge multiplex is going to go out of business because I was their only customer that afternoon. So, for all of you listening, go to the movie theater and watch a movie. Please keep them in business so we can have experiences like this, watching these epic movies. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
That's it, folks. Have a good night.
Post-credit scenes.
Okay, I'm hoping that you guys know more than I do because I'm like confused on.
I am a little confused too. I'm right there with you. What are you confused at?
So there's two post-credit scenes, and you know the one featuring the sister and her continuing on the father's kind of group that's pretty clear cut. It's no surprise in some ways.
Yeah, that was my least impressed like after credit scene for me. Like that was like not worth the wait. I was like, really, that's it? Like, ugh.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I know that she's kind of like built this criminal empire and she's built this reputation, and now she has her father's army kind of behind her, but she doesn't have the rings. So I'm wondering what power other than just maybe name and a little bit of influence. I don't know. But the credit scene that we're really referencing, we want to talk about is simply, what the hell with Banner?
I know,
Right?
He had an injured arm, so I'm assuming that's still
snap.
a result of the snap that isn't, repairable or fixed. But it also makes you think that he and the Hulk are now separate. I'm assuming I could easily be wrong, but I mean, are they separate entities now? If you figure out how to combine them into one, maybe figure out how to split them into two.
I don't know.
What are you guys' thoughts?
It's a good question. I was wondering that as well. I mean, I'm glad to see some change with him because I actually hated that the Gray Hulk or whatever you want to
Professor
call
Hulk?
him. Yeah, I hated that character. Like I thought it was horrible.
Why did you not like it? Was this like weird to you, or?
I don't know. It just seemed like I mean, we discussed this before, but just like from an arc perspective, it was just horrible for me. Like I don't know because
I don't necessarily feel the same way.
His origin movie was part of the original Avenger lineup, right? And like there was no Betty Ross anything. Not that they've ever went back to that, but I mean, at least mentioning it or something. I don't know. There's just no payoff for me. Like it seemed like a cop out. Like he didn't. It seemed like he didn't really accomplish much as far as like character development. I mean, I guess you could say he did because he just sort of merged the characters into one. It just seemed lazy. Like I wanted the awesome fight scene or something, but even when he went to go like fight, he was like, oh, like he was supposed to be acting like the Hulk in the first Avengers like sequence or whatever. And that was part of like they played it for laughs. Where he's like, oh, I roar, I'm the Hulk. But I don't know. I just wanted to see the Hulk kick the shit out of something, and he didn't.
I mean, I agree with all that. My bigger problem is that we, as an audience, did not really get to see the struggle between the two, and that getting resolved. I think that would have made a big difference too.
Yeah, because the last time you
if that's
saw
the
the
end
Hulk
result-
was him like, no, saying no, he didn't want to come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, what happened there? Why did he do that? What's up with that? Nope, we're not going to explain any of that. And like in the trailers, they led you to believe that, at least they led me to believe, like earlier on, that he was gonna transform. I would have loved to seen this in live action, where Banner is inside the Hulkbuster suit and he transforms into the Hulk and like bursts out of it while in
That's
it.
what I was
Like that
hoping.
would have looked
We were
amazing.
all hoping it.
And they totally didn't do it. That was just a letdown. Anyways, I'm wondering if they're gonna have some relation or they're going to explain some of this stuff in the She-Hulk series, because he's supposed to be in it as well. And let's see,
and Abomination too.
And Abomination, yep. Let's see, when does that come out? That comes out. It just says 2022.
Yeah, next year.
So they could explain it there. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm not sure if he's going to show up in the Doctor Strange movie. You know, as far as like that's one of the next movies coming out.
Well, then the next two are the Eternals and then No Way Home.
Right. I'm talking next
Doctor
year.
Strange will be New Year. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have any ideas?
Yeah, it's funny. In the very end, it didn't say that Shang-Chi would return. It said that the Ten Rings will return.
That is a good point.
So does that mean that Shang-Chi is done for now? Is this Adam kind of situation where they talk about it and then there's no payoff? I don't know. It confused me too because where does this take place? Because Captain Marvel had long hair, so is this pre-Endgame? But it can't be pre-Endgame because in the beginning of the movie,
We talk about
they
it.
had the little posters on the wall. He's going up to going up the stairs of post-snapping.
Right.
And so it's after, but she has long hair.
It's grown back already.
Banner isn't Hulk, so what is the timetable here? I was very confused.
It is post snap and all of that.
Yeah.
But we have like the last 3 or 4 movies. There's all, well, other than Black Widow, because that's, you know, weird. It's kind of like anachronistic, you know, out of time.
Yeah.
We have all these gaps of knowledge. You know, I was talking to my son earlier because he's a Marvel nut like I am right now. We were talking about what movie was it? The last Spider-Man movie. Where at the end we find out that Fury and Maria Hill were Skrulls,
Right.
and then we see Fury on like a space station somewhere. You know, that's like a floating piece of information that we don't have grounds for what the hell's going on there. So we have all these little kind of hanging bits, like dangling bits of information that we're not able to connect yet. I'm sure they have an idea in their grand plan, but it's kind of stringing us along in a weird way. As far as the 10 rings thing, I think the comment was meant to say the 10 rings will return in terms of the organization,
Yeah,
not the physical.
with the
rings.
daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that also leads to, you know, I think, you know, Shang-Chi is going to be a part of. Yes, I heard it. I said it and I heard it. Shang-Chi is going to return. Because now we know that there's also a direct connection with Wong from Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question I want to ask the two of you, it's all guessing, of course. They made a comment at the end of the movie that there's a beacon embedded into the rings and it's making a call. Who do you think it's calling?
Oh, we already
Something
know.
for the Eternals.
Yeah, Galactus is in the trailer for the Eternals.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
It's one of the Celestials. It's not Galactus.
Yeah.
That's not Galactus?
No.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about the big
I was
thing
like,
with the
man,
dot,
I made it look
like
weird.
the 3 or 6 dots. Yeah.
It has a different name. It's not Galactus.
Okay.
I mean, that's the next
Or
one in the
something.
sequence. It would make sense that would be. They said it's super old, and that's what the Eternals. You know, all that stuff is super
It's
ancient.
alien.
I don't see how it would.
Yeah,
be
I
anything
didn't
else.
want to assume because things never seem to move in a straight line with Marvel. It seems like it's zigzagging now.
Oh, and now we have the multiverse, so there's it's all wide open.
So you got Loki and you got Kang. You have that storyline hanging.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know when they're going to pick that back up.
Well, the Ant-Man movie, he's in that. Kang is. So they're at least not going to resolve that until that comes out, and that's like
Quantumania.
into next year, ish,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. So lots of time to play around.
Definitely feels that way. Maker's Portal says it's a great time to be a geek, and it's so much to watch and so much to kind of keep up with.
But please go watch it in the theater.
In fact, I might be seeing it again. I might be renting out a theater and seeing it with like 30 people, friends and
Really?
stuff. Yeah,
That's cool.
I'm actually anxious to see it again. I want to see it again.
To see if your opinion on it changes, or to see if you pick up on more that you didn't the first time.
Neither. I just enjoyed it that much. I want to see it again.
Oh, fair enough.
I think it's about that time. What are you guys geeking out about? If there's anything new that you're geeking out about.
What did you guys geek out about last week? I didn't get to the end of the episode. What were you
Spider-Man?
geeking out about?
I think. No,
Was it Spider-Man?
You
I don't
mentioned
know.
Spider-Man.
Just the trailer. I don't think I had forgotten to mention that the previous time, and so I think I was just catching up on the trailer.
I geeked out about Matrix Resurrections.
Right.
Mm,
Donna, did you see the trailer?
yeah. I haven't watched the second and the third one.
Oh,
But
okay. That's tough
just
then.
just from going from like the first
Oh.
one to this one, I'm like, wow,
No.
this looks
Yeah. No.
good. Mm. But trailers are meant to do that. I mean, they're meant to like make anything look good. So I am very hopeful and optimistic on. Should I watch the second and third one before this
Yes.
one? Okay.
Yeah, you kind of need to. Just I talked about it quite a bit in the last episode. Keep an open mind.
Okay.
I think Wes will second that.
I'm gonna go back and watch it. I've already got plans to see it within the next 2 weeks. To see them again, and I'm looking forward to it. With kind of like a different perspective too. So
Yeah,
Are you guys geeking out at the Hawkeye trailer at all?
yeah, I liked it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It
I
didn't
don't know
seem
what
a
to
little
think about it.
campy to you?
They're trying to have like a more lighthearted thing. I mean, after coming from like Winter Soldier TV show to that, like I need a palate cleanser of something. And it's Christmas too, so it's like a little more fun. Typically, Christmas-oriented movies are more fun too.
I would like to think that Marvel is trying to be really, really methodical on the TV series they produce for Disney Plus, where each one has this clear area of turf to run. So for military-esque espionage, you have Falcon and Winter Soldier. For kind of like strange time, playing with time, you have Loki. And Loki's gonna have a second season, so it's gonna kind of keep that turf.
WandaVision.
WandaVision had its clear
Yeah.
turf. So I think that maybe the idea of making this a little bit campy and a little bit funny and more lighthearted, almost like
It's a buddy
I'd
cop.
say rom-com, but that's
Yeah.
kind of the wrong idea because of the matchup of the two main people. But I think that might be the spiritual intention of something a little bit more lighthearted, because I don't think a lot of people take the character of Hawkeye seriously anyways. So maybe that's the intention.
Well,
I-
I mean, he is not Hawkeye anymore. He's Ronin.
No, he hung up that when he doesn't wear that anymore, so he's not.
Yeah,
Ronin.
the girl was she imitating or
Yeah.
impersonating
Mm-hmm.
Ronin a little
Took
bit?
up the mantle of or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that turns
He
out.
hung that back up when his family came back because that was the whole reason he went that way.
Yeah.
What are you geeking out about, Sean?
Valheim, the new update. Since I have, I think like 120 hours into the game now, so I guess I could just say that because nothing else is coming to mind at the moment.
I love books. I'm a really big book reader. We don't talk about books a lot on this podcast much, but one of my favorite authors is Robert Jordan, who wrote the Wheel of Time series, which, if you've read them, you understand how amazing as an epic they are. Each book is like 1,000 pages, 1,200 pages, and there's 20 of them. There's a bunch, but they are making a Wheel of Time series that the trailer and the behind the scenes featurette came out for it. And I am really geeking out about those because I'm hoping that they are true to the spirit of the books. They don't have to be like hardcore, like I'm okay with them not being directly like word for word from the book adaptation. But that said, I'm hoping that they don't like Game of Thronesify this. And so
Who's producing it though?
it's
Is it
Amazon.
Netflix or Amazon?
Who's doing Game of Thrones? That is a good question. Netflix?
Well, no, not Game of Thrones. Wheel of Time.
Oh, sorry, Wheel of Time. I knew what you meant.
Yeah,
Give me a second.
I remember hearing about it. I just don't remember who's doing it.
Amazon Prime.
It'll probably be. Are the books adult in nature in terms of like the intended reading audience?
They are adult fantasy, but it's not like Game of Thrones adult fantasy.
Right,
I
right.
compare everything to Game of Thrones, even though I haven't seen it. I've only seen the first episode. But like I know and I understand the I get not motif, but the feel of the show. I understand what they were going for is a very mature, graphic, intense audience. And there's a lot of I mean it's adult in nature because it's very involved, it's very political. There's a lot of politics in the stories to do with the characters and the world building and all of that kind of stuff, but not a lot of like adult material like you would find in Game of Thrones.
It'll
But
probably be somewhere in between. I don't anticipate that it would be gratuitous,
yeah,
but it might still have some language and maybe some situations, but probably far less than Game of Thrones if I had to guess.
I hope.
HBO tends to be a little bit more forward in what they show in terms of graphic content.
Yeah, but with the popularity of Game of Thrones, like everybody wants to be a copycat, so
Yeah, well, Game of Thrones was good until the last season, and it turned to complete crap. Anyways,
but that's what I'm geeking out about.
Well, let's
Wes,
see.
did you already go?
I did not go. I am geeking out about a new. Well, it's new to me. I had never heard of it before. It's this alternate Minecraft game type called One Block. Have you guys heard of this?
Yes,
So,
I don't know what it is.
When
though.
you spawn into Minecraft, generally, there's thousands and thousands of blocks of every variety all the way around you. You explore as far as you possibly can. You always find new stuff, etc., etc. We all know how that works. This is like the complete inverse of that. When you spawn in, there's literally just void above you and below you, and you spawn in on one singular block of dirt, and that's it. With nothing else in your inventory, no armor, nothing. So, and it has like several stages that the way it works. And so, basically, you take your hand, you mash the single block of dirt. You'd think you would fall, but they've rigged it so that when you destroy it, that goes to your inventory, and then the next one appears in its place. It's like a magical block, and every time you dig it up, there's a chance of getting something else or more of what you just got. And sometimes when you dig it, like a pig will appear above that. And so like the pig's trying to shove you off this one block. And as you go, you keep building along the sides of this brick, and it builds out the kind of world. You're literally building the world and the land and the landscape and like how you want to like kind of deal with all these different things. So like there are cows that'll appear, and like enemies will start spawning after a certain amount of time, and they go through like different stages. Good.
Is it a Minecraft mod
Yes.
or it's like a separate game?
It's a mod for Minecraft.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna
okay.
ask the
That's
exact
why I'm
same
not
thing.
finding
Yeah,
anything.
I installed it on the server that we host, and I haven't tried it yet, but I watched a lot of videos and figured out how it works and everything. So like you go after you mine a certain number of blocks, they only give you a certain range of blocks at the beginning, just to kind of lower level stuff. And as you progress, they keep adding in more and more ranges of blocks and enemies and rules that they kind of make it harder on you. Because at first enemies won't spawn, and as you progress through the different levels, then they'll eventually start spawning. So it's really fun, and it changes up kind of the dynamic. And I imagine with multiplayer, it'll be kind of crazy too, with like multiple people trying to stand on one block of dirt. It's just fun. And if I could just take a moment and do the inverse of geeking out, I don't know what that would be, but I just want to acknowledge Norm Macdonald passing. That I was a huge fan of his. I still am a huge fan of his, and I've been in like a super deep dive as sure many people are on YouTube, looking at all his old stuff to the point where I don't even know how you like recover from that on YouTube. Like after you go in a deep dive in a subject, you may not necessarily want to see all Norm Macdonald things all the time for all eternity. So I don't want to completely hide it. But I'm not sure how to like trim that from the recommended viewing. Anyways, he was awesome. His content is great. I introduced some of the stuff to Samantha, and she quite liked it, like the moth joke, which is going around. I think it's like #1 trending video in the last several days in a row or something. So if you guys aren't familiar with a lot of his work, just look up. He did a Conan appearance, and it's called the moth joke. Just look that on YouTube. It's kid friendly, mostly. It's pretty funny. So.
Yeah, that's good to know because not all of this stuff is
yeah.
kid friendly.
There's no curse words or anything like that. They just mention a firearm, but it's a light kind of thing. It's definitely my 10-year-old liked it and she got it, so which was pretty.
She
cool.
got it.
Yeah, she got it. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that. I know you like comedian stuff too, Sean. I didn't know.
Yeah.
If you were a fan of his.
I wasn't a fan, but I also wasn't not a fan.
Yeah.
I catch his stuff from time to time, and yeah, he was very good at what he did. You know. So.
He was very good at being Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, he very much had a brand of comedy.
Yeah, he was very fearless, and he would. I was watching several different things on his I guess he did like a roast of Bob Saget, which typically in a roast.
Oh, that was a brutal roast.
Well, typically, people are super, gratuitous and, nasty on their own purpose for the roast. But he did the opposite. He told like the most corny jokes and the most like kindergarten level jokes, and like the groans, he was playing off like the expectation as like the underlying jokes. All the comedians knew what he was doing, but like a lot of just the general audience, they're like, what the heck is this guy doing? And he just loved that. And like playing against like expectations and stuff. It was pretty funny. Anyways, I'm done. I don't have a segue to thank our patrons this evening, so I'm just going to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks for helping us keep the show going with their financial contributions. You guys are all awesome. I sent a bunch of stickers out to those that are of the qualifying tier, so hopefully you guys got those and are enjoying them. Thank you to our top patrons, Clinton, Jordan, and Square Splinter. Thank you for your support.
And if you'd like to hear our back catalog of content, you can go to our website, makinggeeks.com. We have all of our past episodes right there on the homepage. You can go back and listen to all of them. If you're in your browser, we also have a link to a merch store where you can buy some Making Geeks themed merchandise. You can also contact us through our website, although the contact page is down at the moment, but it'll be fixed shortly. So if you want to message us directly there about the show for any suggestions of topics or anything related to what we talk about here on the show, you could do that there on makinggeeks.com.
And kind of bringing this conversation full circle from what we were talking about at the beginning, all of us have websites on Squarespace that you can go and check. Wait, do you have a website in Squarespace, Wes?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't have a
not on
Forge,
Squarespace.
and you don't have a Squarespace website. But Sean and I do. So if you want to go see what each of us are working on our websites, or more specifically on our YouTube channels where we post all of our builds and things, you can check us out. Wes, you can find at Geeksmithing. Sean, you could find at Geek Builders. And myself, you could find at Once Upon a Workbench.
And you can find new episodes of the show every Saturday morning on your favorite podcast player of choice. I want to thank everybody that was hanging out in the chat. It always makes it a little bit more fun seeing the additional conversation that goes on while we're recording. And so from all of us to all of you, have a great week.
See you guys.
大家再见了。
We need subtitles.